A warm welcome to another edition of the Magpie Circle Podcast. Every guest we have on the show is special, but it's not every day. We have a goalkeeping legend who's played for some of the biggest clubs in the world, as well as Notts County. Manchester United, Olympiacos, West Ham, Wigan. Still playing for the mighty Dungannon Swifts at the age of 43. Roy Carroll, delighted to have you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Paul. Don't know about a legend, but thanks for that lovely, kind words. Cheers, mate.
Hey, you're a legend to Notts County fans. Certainly, from what I can remember when you came here, best goalkeeper in the division when you dropped down to us with Notts by a country mile. And I kind of want to just pick up on that as the start of the Notts County journey, because you'd been in Greece, Olympiacos, Champions League, and all of that. How did you end up at Notts? Because I know as fans, we all thought, crikey, that's a great signing. How did we manage that one?
Well, it was, Paul, it's a long story, but I'm going to cut it down really short. Like, I came back from Greece, and the situation in Greece was like they brought a new manager in. The owner of the club at Olympiacos wanted me to stay, but I wanted to play football because we were I wanted to push for international football with Northern Ireland. And I was quite lucky. I got a phone call from Shaun Derry one day, and he said, "Would you like to come over to Notts County?" And I said to Shaun, I would love to come over. I'll tell you a wee story. My dad's a big Notts County fan as well, so he was so proud of me to come over to Notts County. He's from Nottingham, you see. My dad's from Nottingham. And I went to Notts County, and that's how it came about, with Shaun Derry giving me a phone call and saying to me, "Would you like to come over for a week's trial?" And I jumped on the next plane and played. I think my first game was against Halifax away, and Shaun says, "We'd like to sign you for the year," and I was happy enough to sign the contract for 1 year, Notts County at the time.
Right, let's rewind the clock, because I've not heard this story, and I like to think I hear most of them. Your dad comes from Nottingham and a Notts County fan. Really?
Yes. I remember when we used to have holidays at Nottingham, and my dad's side of the family of Nottingham Forest fans, and I have a cousin over there. He goes and watches Nottingham Forest. I remember when I was a young boy going and watch Notts County against Nottingham Forest. Remember the Nottingham Cup? They always played before the summer holiday. So I used to go to watch Notts County play against Nottingham Forest many years ago. And my dad, as I said before, he's a massive Notts County fan, and he was. I think my dad didn't talk much about me until I joined Notts County in my football career, because he was over the moon when I signed for Notts County.
What a wonderful story. I had no idea of that one. No idea.
Yes, my second home. Nottingham's my second home, because I got my dad's side of the family's over there. So I went to Notts County many years ago as well. I came in as a goalkeeping coach to help out Colin Mad Dog. I came in for a week, and every time I try and get to Nottingham, I go over. My brother had his stag do in Nottingham as well many years ago, so I've got good memories back in Nottingham and back in the days, and especially when I went over to play for Notts County. It's a great club. I love the city, and the people at Notts County was fantastic and made me feel welcome at the time.
You played for the biggest clubs. Did your dad's affinity with Nottingham play a part in you accepting? Because on the face of it, most of us thought, crikey, you would have got at least championship level club at that time.
Yeah, Paul, the thing was, right, I left England many years ago before I probably had a bad name because my problems off the field. People didn't really know what my problems were off the field, because all I seen was Roy going out having a few drinks. I moved out of the UK for nearly 3 years to play in Greece. First of all, I went to a small team called Offi in Crete. I was there for 6 months, and I got to move to Olympiacos. After 6 months, I was there for 2.5 years, back playing Champions League, back playing Europa League. But what I'm trying to say to young players coming up and coming now, footballers, is like, if everybody speaks in football, all coaches, all managers speak. And when I came back, probably a few managers who still think I was a bad apple probably said, "Stay away from Roy." But Shaun Derry gave me a chance to come to Notts County, and that's my that's my opinion on the situation. For me, I just wanted to play football, and I didn't care who came in for me. And lucky enough, Shaun Derry came in for me, and the team was close to my dad's side of my dad's side was Notts County, and I jumped at the chance for Notts to go to Notts County. But like I said before, it's what I left behind before the first time in the UK. People probably had the wrong side of the story. What I was going through, depression and alcohol at the time, was very bad in my life. And I've said this many, many times since I've opened up about my problems outside football. And some managers and coaches have to understand, like, people can change, and give them a second chance. And Shaun Derry gave me that opportunity to play for Notts County. And it doesn't matter. Notts County was in League One, and we got relegated to League Two. But I loved every minute of it. There was ups and downs. There's probably more downs than there was ups. But the people at Nottingham and Notts County were fantastic, and I wish them all the best. I always say to people, that club should be back in the league where they belong, and with the support they have behind them, they should be pushing back in the league as soon as possible.
Wonderful story about your family side. So was your dad able to come over and see you at all when you were playing for Notts, or?
My dad came over a few times. He came over to watch me a few times, but he said, "Son, Nottingham's changed. It's not what it used to be like." Yeah, it's changed. But he's came over a few times to watch me. But my cousin, he's a Nottingham Forest fan, and he came to watch Notts County more than he did watch Nottingham Forest. So I think I turned him to a Notts County fan.
Hey, top man. And okay, so I think I'm right in saying, so you've come back to England, and I think, as you mentioned, part of this was to get regular football and get back into Northern Ireland, number one slot, yeah? And I think your first game was Preston away?
That's correct, yes.
Yes.
That's correct.
I was invited into the boardroom that day by Peter Ridsdale. And so I'm sat in the boardroom, and then in comes through the door comes Michael O'Neill, and I knew Michael from running the Vauxhall sponsorship of Northern Ireland. So he didn't know I was a Notts fan. So he's looked at me. "What are you doing here, Macy?" And I've looked at him because I've not put two and two together. And I thought, more to the point, "What are you doing here?" And he goes, "Your goalkeeper." He says, "I've come to have a look at him." So your first game back at Notts in League One, the manager's come down from Scotland to take a look at you. So it kind of must have worked pretty well, pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, though. Michael knew me for a long, long time in my career. I played with him at Wigan many years ago as well.
Okay.
So he was my teammate at Wigan. So Michael knew what I could do. But he's the type of guy who still wants to come and watch players. There's no point. It's better seeing what they like in live games. I didn't know he was there, but he keeps everything very quiet and doesn't tell players when he's going. But I think that was the biggest thing for me to move back from Greece was I'm not hiding the fact I would have loved to stay in Greece and played on in Greece, but things happened with a new manager come in, and he brought his own goalkeepers in, and it was time for me to move on. And that's what happens in football. Not too many people will stay at one club for 10 years anymore. I don't think that will ever happen many times this day and age, because with so many managers getting sacked and new players coming in week in, week out, you know what I mean? That's the way football's turning out to be. And I moved back to Northern Ireland first. I drove the whole way back from Greece with my mate. I had four dogs and a snake and a hamster in the car, and we drove the whole way back from Greece. That's the story. So I was driving. I was panicking if the snake was eating the hamster, or the dogs were eating the snake. So I was panicking the whole way home. But it's the life. What people think, oh, it's great being a professional footballer, but it's a tough time as well when you have to travel and you have to get the dogs and your animals packed up straight away to leave Greece. I think I had 2 weeks to try and get things organised, so I couldn't get the dogs on the plane. So I had to get a car and drove the whole way back from Athens the whole way back to Northern Ireland in 5.5 days.
That is a drive, by the way. Crikey.
You should my mate as well. We drove probably stopped off in the north of France. That's when we first stopped off in the north of France. I think we were driving every 5 hours. He was driving 5 and I was driving 5 hours. So should have seen us when we finished the 5.5 days. I looked like I was 110 years old with a big grey beard on me. it was a long journey, but it's good experience. I could tell anybody to try and do it because it's a lovely drive, especially driving through the Alps and going through the north of Italy. It's lovely part of the world.
So a new chapter in your career dawns. You're back in England with Little Notts County. How did you view that as a cultural change from being in European football, having played at clubs of the stature of Manchester United, regular Premier League, to coming to League One? Was it more a case of you just wanted to be playing again?
I think, Paul, I've been quite lucky in my career. I've started off at Hull City when I was back in 1995, and I've started off from the bottom. And when I was a YTS, they call them scholarships now, but when I was a young lad, used to clean the change rooms, used to clean the stadium, clean the boots, everything you had to do as a young lad. So when I end up playing in the Premier League, I appreciate everything what was given to me. You know what I mean? Appreciate everything that was given to me playing for Manchester United, playing with all the best players in the world. I never got big time and nothing like that there because I knew what football was all about from growing up as a young player at Hull City, and the work I had to try and put in to try and make it to the top. And that's the thing that I tried to do. And when I moved to Notts County, like we were training at Notts County. My first season we were training on a grass pitch. The second season we were training up in university there, Nottingham University, and the students are waiting to come on the pitch after us finished. Like, and I played in all these big clubs, like, but I come here. It never got to me. It didn't get to me because that's what football was like in the lower leagues back in the day. You know what I mean? And Notts County were going through a very, very difficult time at the time, especially what happened so many years ago. Someone trying to come on and take over the club and just went AWOL. You know what I mean? It's these smaller clubs. I think the Premier League needs to help them out a lot more than they are. But that's another story we can talk about. But for me, it wasn't a small club for me at Notts County. It wasn't a small. I knew how big Notts County is, and it still is. I know the non-league, but when you're playing for Notts County, the fans, the hunger of the fans want you to succeed, and that's how I try to do. When I was at Notts County, give the fans something to cheer about, and it was difficult times when we were sitting at the top of the league for most of the season, and we get relegated at the end of the season. It's hard to take, and you never want to get relegated as a player. And I've been relegated a few times in football, and it's a hard thing to get out of your mind. But that's why I stayed on for the second year, because my contract was only there for a year, and I stayed on for another year for Notts County. Played in the lowest league in the league, in the English league. But I wanted to give something back to the club because I just thought to myself, I let the fans down, I let the club down because we got relegated.
Your humility here is absolutely borne out in messages we've received from some of the younger fellow pros that were at Notts at the time. Just before we're recording this, we got a message from Joe Searson, who was a young keeper, and I think he said, "Roy, great keeper, but an even greater man." So that tells us that you were taking a very active interest in the very young keepers at that time.
Correct, Paul. I know him well. He's a good young lad, and it's very hard for young keepers because I don't think you get much opportunity as a young keeper this day and age because managers don't have enough time to give these young keepers a chance, and they always go for experienced keepers who's played in many games in the league. But that's the thing the thing I try to do, not just the goalkeepers, to see young players as well, because outfield players, because football now is not just a given. You have to work hard. You have to work in life. Even if you're not a footballer, you have to work. Things are not given to you in life, and I think a lot of young players think it is given to them in life, and that's the problem. You have to try and get that out of them and work for themselves and work as a team. It's a team game, and that's what I always say as a football team like Notts County or any club I've played for. If you give 100% for the shirt you're wearing, you can go very far. You can go very far in the game.
We had Greg Tempest on the show, and Greg spoke very movingly about his own challenges with mental health, having come in at a very early age, then kind of not being involved as much and being released by the club. And it's probably been one of the top 5 out of the 50 or 60 podcasts we've done with players. But again, you get mentioned because, as you said earlier in the conversation, some people will stereotype you from an early age. But coming to Notts, aside from your dad, you were very much part of the family, weren't you? Very much part of the family.
Yeah, I think the experience comes into it. And I think my belief in myself, no matter what club I went to, I believed in myself. And Notts County, I was out of English football for a long, long time. Before I went to Greece, I was in Denmark for a year and a half. So I was out of English football for nearly. Actually, I was up in Glasgow as well for 6 months at Rangers. So could have been about 4 or 5 years I was out of English football. So even when I did come back to Notts County, I'm not going to lie about it. You always have nerves coming back playing football, no matter what game I play in. I still get butterflies playing for Dungannon here in the Irish League, and that's just the type of person I am. And I think that's the thing. When I moved into Notts County, I felt like I was there before, and I was there before as a coach. So I knew there were surroundings, and I knew some people already there. I know Big Mike was there as well, a physio. Fitness coach. He was with me at Hull City. Anna Smith as well. So there was a lot of people I knew before when I joined Notts County. So that's the thing. When you're an old man, you know a lot more people in the game than you do as a young person. But to any young person who's coming through, like what you're saying, if correct, it's always scary moving to a new club when you're a young player, or moving into the first team when you're a young player. But I think you just have to come out of yourself and just be part of the family. And I've noticed that when I moved to Manchester United, Paul, was the big thing. I couldn't sleep for 3 weeks. I signed a contract 3 weeks before pre-season, and I couldn't sleep for 3 weeks thinking, what am I going to say to these superstars? You know what I mean? I'm Roy Carroll, come for Wigan in League One. What am I going to say to these superstars? And the first person shook my hand was David Beckham. And I felt so unbelievable. Like I've been there for years and years after I finished the session. After I finished the session, I thought I was there for years because everybody made me feel so welcome. I think in the lower leagues, it's a bit different. I think everybody's a bit wary. Is he going to take my place or whatever happens? But when I moved to Manchester United, it was like a family club, and that's what I felt when I went to Notts County as well. I felt welcome. Everybody welcomed me at the club, but everybody has different experience at every club they go to.
Shaun, Shaun is very much, as I'm sure he would have spoken about with your father, a massive Notts County fan. He started out as in the junior Magpies, as they then were, with his family. So clearly it meant a huge amount to him in his first managerial job. And he did extremely well in the first season to keep the club up. Because that was at the time when we had Jack Grealish and Callum McGregor. Yeah. You couldn't pick too many better loan signings than that. Not stayed up on the last day of the season. But what Shaun revealed for the first time in our podcast was that basically he had to slash the budget, cut a lot of the senior players out because of as part of a budgetary exercise by the club. Rights and wrongs of, we can debate another time. So to get you in was a huge feather in Notts's cap. And against all the odds, really, for the first, I think it was up to 4 or 5 months, you were in the top 6 all the time. And then, unfortunately, it started to unravel when further players weren't allowed to come in. But I'm guessing in those first few months, you must have thought, right, we're in business here, let alone relegation, with you're thinking promotion.
Yeah, I remember the first year very well. Like we were doing really well. We were on fire. I think we had 4 or 5 young players in from loan from Nottingham Forest, from Wolves, and I can't remember the other clubs. But they were doing really well, and I think they were so happy in Notts County. I think they would have signed. I think we didn't get their signatures because something happened behind the scenes. I do not know what happened. But Shaun Derry would have loved them players to stay. I reckon he would have loved them players to stay. And And once they went back to the club, that's when the wheels came off the wagon. Things went downhill, and we started losing games, and we couldn't get things moving again. We couldn't get the good loan players, what we could get in the last time. But I think what we had in the first 5 months was a great family. I think we had the players who came in on loan; they were loving every minute of it. Shaun Derry was a fantastic manager, a good coach as well, and we knew what we were trying to do for the club. And once we lost them 4 or 5 players back, they were playing week in, week out. Them players as well. It wasn't just fringe players; they were playing week in, week out. And once they went back to the club, it's difficult. Once you're halfway through a season and you take your 5 best players out of the team, it's very hard to keep the run going. And I think Notts County at the time, I think the hierarchy should have really done something to try and keep them for the rest of the season, because you never know what we might have made a playoffs, but we might not have made a playoffs. But I don't think we would have got relegated. That's my opinion.
No, I couldn't agree more, Roy. Now, one story that a lot of fans want to hear about, and I have a little part to play in this, was how you managed to play one game in Bucharest in Romania for Northern Ireland on a Friday night, about 10 o'clock, with the time lags over there. And then within 15 or 16 hours, you are playing and keeping a clean sheet for Notts County at Coventry, having flown home at an unearthly hour on Saturday morning. You go first. Tell me how it was kind of broached with you as to, would you fancy doing it, whatever? Because clearly, I'm guessing at first you're thinking, when you've seen the international fixtures, I'm not playing against Coventry.
Yeah, come here. I think, let me think here. I could have rang. I don't know if I rang Shaun, the manager, or Shaun rang me. It was one of the two anyhow. I'm not saying yes, it was me, or yes, it was Shaun. I can't remember, but I think anyhow, we were speaking on the phone. He said, if you can do it, let's get you back over and play the game on Saturday. And I said, yes, I'd definitely play it. Like, if you want me to come back and play, let me speak to Michael O'Neill and we get something done here. And Michael said, we have no game after the game, so you can do what you have to do, and if you want to go, you can do. So that was the end of the story, really. Once it was okay to go, I decided to come back, play for Notts County. I think after the game on Friday night, I never sleep anyhow. Night games, I could never sleep because I'm always wide awake thinking about the game. We lost the game then as well. I think it was 2-1, 2-0. So I was thinking a lot about the game against Romania, and I was just wide awake and just laying in bed. And I think it was about 3:30 or something that day. I was going to the airport and get the flight to London. And I feel okay the next day. It's always the second day after the game I always feel a bit sore, you know what I mean? So it would have been Sunday morning when I was tired. But anyhow, when I was driving up, I was just drinking loads of water, getting a lot of protein in me, trying to keep me going and keep my energy up. And lucky enough, the players did really well in front of me, and I didn't have nothing to do in the game. But Paul, the worst thing was I forgot about the game on a Tuesday against Ackley Stanley in the FA Cup replay, and I forgot all about that because I was more worried about playing for Romania and playing in the league game. I forgot about the FA Cup. So I wish I never played now, because I was completely ruined. I was completely shattered, mentally tired. We lost a game, I think it was 4-0, 4-1. And my body was there, but my mind was somewhere else because I was just so shattered. People laugh at me. People says, Roy, you don't do any running around the pitch. I says, I know we don't do running around the pitch, but it's mentally focus in the game it makes you more tired, focusing in the game. But that's just me. I always trying to focus, and even if they don't have a saver make, it's like talking to your back four and keeping them on the toes. But like I said before, the Ackley Stanley one, that was a tough one, Paul, to take. I went up to the hotel by myself, slept all day on a Monday, and we played the game against Ackley Stanley, and it was a nightmare. I hope you haven't got any clips there. So I left some bad goals in that time. I apologise to Notts County fans, but my body was completely gone.
No need to apologise. I'm just umming and ahhing later in this chat whether we bring up Cambridge United, and you'll know what I mean with that one.
No, but I don't bring that up, because at the end of the day, the referee, I just say something bad about the referees.
Yeah, understood. Right. So to put a bit more meat on the bone of that, of how you ended up playing both. So my company, we handle all the Vauxhall sponsorship of Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales. So, you know, I would be paid for a living to travel around all the various games. And when I looked, I was England were playing on the Saturday afternoon at Wembley. So I was down to be in Bucharest for the Northern Ireland game, fly back on that morning BA flight, and be at Wembley at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I thought, right, okay. So if I can get back, that technically means Roy could get back, and he's at Coventry. And so I had a word with Northern Ireland, and I had a word with Notts. And Patrick Nelson said, well, look, it's up to the player and the manager. But in principle, we as the Northern Ireland FA would not have an issue with it. So I rang Jim Rodwell up, the chief exec, and I had this bizarre conversation. And I said, look, I know it sounds a bit strange, but you can have Roy Carroll playing for you on Saturday. No, we can't. I said, you can. He's in Romania on Friday night. I said, I know he is. So am I. I said, I'm at Wembley at 3 o'clock. There's a flight that comes back. And so really, I said, yes, really. So he then obviously had a word with Shaun, hence the call to you. And then Rodders came back, typical Notts, typical budget cutting here. He goes, yeah, it can happen. He said, but Northern Ireland have got to pay for the flight, because I think you was on a later flight. I think the group was split, wasn't there? Were two flights, and some sort of name change or something. And he says, we're not going to pay for it. It's up to Northern Ireland. I said, Rodders, what on earth do you want about? I said, they're doing you a favour. Go if you want. If everyone wants to do it, £100. Well, Northern Ireland's got to pay for it. I said, just don't be stupid. I said, just get, I'll write a check out. Just do it. And in the end, oh yeah, we'll do it. And then, of course, I was going to give you a lift up. I don't know if you knew this, but Jim said that you'd left your car at Heathrow Airport and you were okay to drive up from Heathrow Airport, because I was going to drive you from Heathrow to Coventry and then drive back from Coventry to Wembley, because England was like about a 4 or 5 o'clock kickoff. So that was the bizarre story, and of course it made a big splash in the papers, didn't it? Because we clean sheet 1-0, and no one knew you were going to be playing, did it? It was all kept quiet. No one had a clue.
Yeah, it was quiet. It was quiet. It was very quiet. Shaun says, "Let's keep it to ourselves." Like, and I turned up in the car park. But Rod got that wrong, because I was my mate dropped me off. My mate, I never had my car. My mate dropped me. He's from London anyhow, so he got a day away out from the family, like, so he can watch the football with me. But you're right, Kimmy. Were you on the flight then? But I didn't realise you were on the flight with me, Paul. Yeah. I probably was in the back in the back of the plane. I didn't even recognise you on the plane then.
Yeah, well, I used to try and keep a bit of a low profile, but and it's interesting you say at the back of the plane, because this is interesting. When I would travel with England, I was fortunate enough to go on the private jet. The England players, I don't mind flying at the back of a jet if it's a private jet. Me stashed away at the back with a couple of other Vauxhall hierarchy. But with Northern Ireland, everything was economy. Everything was nothing wrong with that. But people kind of think the Northern Ireland national team, wherever they go, it'll all be plush, won't it? But it's just an ordinary seat you get allocated, 2 rows of 3. 2/3 of the way down the plane. And it was great camaraderie that Michael, I'm sure you'd prefer not to be stuck down the bottom of the plane, but it was a great, you mentioned family at Notts. I always thought of the 4 national teams that I travelled with, by far the best family was Northern Ireland, by far.
I think a lot of people, a lot of press people say the same thing. It's a lot easier to speak to the Northern Ireland players. I think we're just down to earth. I think we're just down to earth players. Like, but Michael did change the Northern Ireland situation up a lot. Like in my first couple of years in Northern Ireland, many years ago, it was like you probably had to get 3 flights from England to Northern Ireland. But Michael changed that all around. Like, we did have quite a few charter flights when we had double headers and stuff like that there, which was really good. I think it helped the players recover quickly. It does help you the recovery instead of walking through the airport and waiting for another flight for about 3 or 4 hours. But I think it's just where we are, Northern Ireland people, where we are. We talk to anyone. I think we talk to anyone. We're just very, very humble, and I think that's the type of nation we are. And I'm not saying nothing bad against England, but they are superstars. They've got multi-billionaire players in their squad, so they have to be very careful of security as well.
Yeah. Another interesting game. Do you remember Leighton Orient away with Balint Bajna? And they, not quite thousands, but certainly 300 or 400 mad Hungarian fans who were kind of Balint's personal supporters club, and all the racket and the noise they made. And because they were all London-based Hungarians, they all turned up at the game, all became Notts fans for the night. And that was a clean sheet, 1-0, and Balint scored the winner. Remember, he took his shorts off, he took his shirt off. You remember that one?
Was that? It wasn't my last season. It wasn't my last season. Not that must have been the first season, wasn't it?
Yeah, first season, because Shaun was still in charge.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
won 1-0 midweek game.
I remember it. I remember it now. I do remember it. Like, I don't know what was going on. I thought he paid his whole family to come over to watch him. It was. He's a good lad, so he was a really nice lad. Really nice. I don't even know what he's doing this day and age. I don't know what he's doing, where he went to.
We tried to track him down because in his home country, he's a big name. He was at Borussia Dortmund. Clearly, there must have been 1 or 2 issues somehow because he's ended up at Notts on a short-term contract. But he kind of looked like he had all the credentials, didn't he? But sometimes it just doesn't quite work out.
Sometimes the ball doesn't go in the net for him. Like it happened to Diego Forlan at United, and he moved off and he did well for himself in Spain. It happens in football. Some people it doesn't click, but he was a really nice lad. I remember him now, and he would speak to anyone as well. Really good kid. Like it was strange sitting here Tuesday night down in London, and you have 200 or 300 Hungarians singing his name. It was brilliant.
Yeah, no, it was very bizarre. I am working on the basis here that you got on very well with Shaun, Alan Smith, Mike Edwards, senior pro stroke coaching backroom staff, and that was a very good fit for you. Yeah.
Yeah, and the goalkeeping coach Kevin Pilkison as well. Really great guy, really good guy. I still keep in touch with Kevin, Mike, and I've been in touch with Shaun a few times in the last 6 months because I've took over the under-17s and under-19s keeping situation. So I'm keeping my eye out on keepers all over the UK. Next goalkeeper for Northern Ireland, but Kevin Pilkison, the goalkeeping coach, he was at Manchester United when he was a young lad as well. So we keep in touch, and it's good. I bumped in Alan's. I heard Alan Smith's in England, in America at the moment, doing a few little things. But it'd be nice to bump in him again because he's a great guy. Dedication. He's just so modest. He just loves. He just keeps himself to himself and plays the game, which he loves.
How difficult for you was it when the club relieved Shaun of his duties and brought in Ricardo Moniz?
For me personally, I think it was the worst mistake ever. I don't know what people thought outside the club, but I just think Shaun needed help by the board and the owners. I think he just needed to keep the players what we had on loan. Like I said before, I don't like going over sound like an old record here, but I think things could have moved in the proper way. I tell you, mate, I was there for 2 seasons, including caretaker managers. It must have been about 6, 7 people in charge.
Yeah, going to come on to that. Yeah,
it's crazy, And Shaun Derry is going the right way. He kept the team up the year before. We were in the top 5, top 6 for nearly half the season, and for 2 months, 3 months, we were just going the wrong way. And I think that's when someone in the background needs to come and say, right, Shaun, we'll give you what you need. We know what you can do. We push you and we help you as much as we can. And I think it was too late. think it was too late by the club to help him. So the easy way is by sacking the manager and bring another guy in and see what happens from there.
We've had Ricardo as a guest on the show, and he speaks with great passion, great engagement, talks about DNA. But you've gone from one type of manager to another type who's 6 or 7 games. I mean, was it a huge cultural change with Ricardo as a player for you?
Not for me, because I played in Greece, played in Denmark, so
Right.
It's the way it is. But when you're playing in League Two, in the English league, and I don't know disrespect to the players we had, the type of football he wanted us to play, it was never going to happen. Yeah. It was never going to happen. But he had his own type of football, and he wanted to do everything his way. He has to understand in English football, the players have to understand you have to go half and half and come half and half, because you're playing out from the back and you're playing lovely like Barcelona. I don't think too many players, if they could do that, be playing for Notts County in League Two.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. He had passion. Anybody can have passion. It's the way you work it as a manager. He's a manager. He has to have that bond between a player and the staff, and that's the thing. Nothing against the man. He came in and tried his best, but he turned the club down once before, and then 3-4 weeks later he came back and he took the job. So I don't know what that was all about.
Yeah, I think he had some family issues, but you're quite right. It was all. It didn't smack of a great deal of professionalism the way the club were going about their business in the closing stages of the season. Gillingham away, last game. Notts took about 4,000 fans down there.
Brilliant.
All in that open end. And winning 1-0 with about 4 or 5 minutes to go. A substitution with the size and height player being brought on, all of that. What was that like for you? What was that like in the dressing room after that game was finished, from being 1-0 with minutes to go, 3-1, relegated?
I'm quite lucky now, because I'm very open-minded now, because I'm basically finishing football, but I was very upset when we came in after the game. I think it was the wrong substitute, first of all, at the wrong time. I think it was winning 1-0. I think we just sat back. We got deeper. I think one of the goals was scored from 4 yards out, and that's how deep we were getting back and back. I think we gave up once we put the substitute in, and we just sat deep on the 18-yard line. It's just me, but come here. It's hard being a manager. Trust me, it's hard being a manager. I've been in the national squad now as a coach, and I know how much work they put in. So I'm not going to badmouth anybody, but just for me personally, as a player at the time, at the end of the game, I was so annoyed with the result, winning 1-0. The professional, they're trying to hold on to 1-0 away from home with all them fans behind the goal. It's fantastic. It shows you what fans are like at Notts County. Really, really appreciate with the fans, what they try and give back to the club. But I just think it was the wrong situation at the wrong time to try and do. But it's not always the last game of the season what makes the season. It's what you do the whole season. And I think the halfway through that season, I think that's when Shaun Derry should have got the backing and kept players what were performing week in and week out, and things would have changed a lot for Notts County. And maybe now they might not have been sitting in non-league football where they are now.
Yeah, well said. You've mentioned earlier in the show, initially you were here on a 1 year, but you wanted to stay on. Yeah. So you've signed another 1 year under Ricardo, and in the summer there's kind of it's a mad summer of recruitment, isn't it? With a large number of overseas players coming in. Greg Tempest alluded to being a little bit of a split dressing room. What was that like? Because clearly now Ricardo is trying to bring his own philosophy in with some of players that would be more used to him. But because the club had been relegated, the clock was already ticking on his tenure, wasn't it? Given the way Notts have got through managers in previous times. Stevenage first game of the season, we all thought, oh, we'll storm the title. 2-0 away from home, all looked good. What was that like under Ricardo at the start of that season?
I think it happened at the end of the season before. We always had a like supporters meeting at the end of the season. I don't know if you were there, Paul. Were you there at that supporters?
No.
Ricardo, the first thing he said, we're gonna make the squad smaller. We're not going to have a squad like we did with the previous manager. So he's basically saying things about the last manager, which I think is very disgraceful as a manager, talking about the other managers, players that bought in. But anyhow, he didn't realise these players had to find a club and move on somewhere else. And when you're starting the season with 35 players after at the end of last season, it's a bit of a joke, you know what I mean? So with 35 players at the start of the season in League Two, and Notts County have no money when they're in League One, I don't understand. What was going on at the time at the club. But Ricardo came in, he tried to put his stamp on it, and it didn't work out for him. It's just, I think he blew his casket, I think 4 or 5 months in the season, and it didn't work out for the man. Never want anybody to be sacked, like, but it didn't work out for Ricardo himself. And came here 1-on-1. He's a really nice guy. I knew what he was trying to do. I played in Olympiacos, where the football is very high intensity in training, and but they have quality players. They're quality players. You have to understand these young players are playing in League Two for a reason, and they need to be coached. They need to be coached the right way. And in the English game, every league you move up to, it's the standards get better and better and better. And I think Ricardo's trying to bring in the Dutch style of football in League Two, which was very difficult at the time.
Yeah, I mean, Stanley Abora was one player that kind of really split fans. Really split fans. Some was like, he's the second coming. Cruyff, Nayskins, Kroll. From my era when the Dutch had that wonderful total football. Others would kind of say, well, he's on the 18-yard line most of the time. Was there a kind of do you think, a clash of styles with what Ricardo wanted? Some of the backbone of the English players, some of the foreign players. How close do you think it was to working, or do you think it was to an extent always doomed to failure?
I think it could work. Of course, everything can work if you work hard at it and you have the players who can do it. It can work, but you have to understand, like, the type of players you have around you as well, even including myself. You know what I mean? You have to understand what people is all about around you. And it's okay coming in saying you want to put your stamp on it, but you have to understand, you have to look at the bigger pictures and see this guy's coming in. He's come in by himself. He's come in by himself as a manager. He brought no backroom staff with him, and I don't think he knows anything about the league. No disrespect. I don't know if he did or not, like, because he has to. The way we're trying to play from the back in the first 3 or 4 games in League Two, we were getting caught out too many times. We're getting caught out too many times, and we're losing the ball in our final third, and they were scoring from it. But I think things now, this day and age, I think a lot of teams, even in League One, League Two now, are trying to play a lot more football, because it's just that possible at this time. It's 2021 now. When I was at Notts County, it was 2004. What was it? 2015, 2016. You know what I mean? So back then, it was just really, really tough. It was like close you down quick and hit you, slide tackles, smashing you 50-50. But now I think football is more turning out to be like stand back, let the player have the ball, and give them time at the back, and we close them down when they come to the halfway line. That's the way I look at football now, this day and age. It probably would work now if Ricardo was in charge now, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, that's an interesting point. You were made captain, weren't you, if I remember rightly, for that season?
He made me captain. Yeah, he pulled me in, made me captain, and it was then. I was dropped a few times as well. He dropped me a few times as captain, like, so it was. Sometimes I don't know what. Sometimes I don't know what was happening. He would have spoke to me as a captain, and all the days he never spoke to me as a captain. And you try and talk to him. Like, it was no really bonding between the players and himself. It was just maybe a few times, like with the players he brought in, he probably spoke more to him. But it happens. Managers always have the players they speak more too. But for me, if you're the captain, you would like a bit of respect, and he will speak to you and talk to you, see what's happening for training sessions and match days. But that's just what foreign managers are. I've played in Denmark, and I've been in Holland, and I've been in Greece, so I know what it's all about then.
Do goalkeepers make good captains, do you think?
A lot of people say no, but for me personally, we see everything. I think for me personally, I'm quite vocal, and I don't think most referees like me to be captain, because I can say to them, "I'm the captain. I can speak to you now." But some referees need to have a little look at themselves as well. But don't talk to me about referees. I've been booked too many times in Notts County. But that was just a passion of me. I just wanted to win games, and things were going the wrong way on the pitch, and I hate losing. I really hate losing, and I have to take it out on somebody, so I took it out on the referees.
Yeah, you got about 6, 7, 8 yellows, didn't you? I was looking at one season when I was looking at the stats.
I know. I don't know. It's just silly little talking back to the referees, but with the young team we had, I didn't want to have a go at the young players because it would destroy them. You know what I mean? So I was trying to take my anger out on somebody else, and the closest ones was the referees.
Yeah.
Wish I never done it now, but that's football.
I guess one result possibly that Ricardo never really recovered from was Salford. FA Cup, Friday night. So there's you, having been in goal, world's biggest club, 3 miles down the road or whatever it is, to Friday night Salford, with every neutral in the country wanting little Salford to win. And it was kind of one of them nights where just everything went wrong, didn't it?
Yeah, Camille, that's
Sorry
where
to bring it up, but I'm just interested from your perspective.
No, you're right. That's why the TV cameras were there. TV cameras was there for a reason, and they got it because we wasn't ready for it. Players wasn't in that situation before, like a small team like Salford, who were doing quite well in the league, looking to get promoted with all these superstars behind them. You know what I mean? The Nevilles, the Paul Scholes, the Sky, BBCs, all over them as well. They wanted Salford to win, so the pressure showed, and we couldn't handle it. It was embarrassing. I don't know if you've seen pictures of me coming off at the end of the game, giving my gloves to the fans and took my shirt off, giving my shirt to the fans, and I just felt sorry for them, and I was embarrassed walking it off. It's things, losing games. I don't mind losing games. It's the way you lose games, and that was one of them games. You come off, and it was embarrassing big time. There was no fight, and you need to fight in them away games, especially in a small ground like Salford as well.
Yeah, I mean, we were stood down, me and my lad, down by the side of the pitch when someone threw a firecracker or something. It landed about 2 foot from us. It went off like deafening. But you're quite right. It was just really, really. We weren't, I don't know, to use a cliche, we weren't at the races for the entire 90 minutes, really. And I'm not sure.
It's the mindset. It's mindset. I've played in many teams. I've played in many players, and you could go and win the best team in the league, and then you can go and play a team below you, and you lose it because it's just your mindset. Every game I play, and I give 100%, and every game's like playing at Wembley, and that's what I try and put my game into. It's your final day. It's your final game. Give everything you can, because you don't know what's around the corner. And I think that's the problem. I think a lot of players will just do 60-70%, and we'll have another game next week. But in football, you never know what's around the corner, and you give everything you can in that one game. And we never got. I don't think we were even 50% ready for the game. That was our problem.
That ended up setting in sequence, and this is not news, sadly, at Notts County, of 3 to 4 managers in a season. Jamie Fullerton for a short period of time, and then Mark Cooper came in and did enough, steadied the ship on a short-term contract at the end of the season. Clearly, fans were very unhappy with Jamie. What was it like as a player at that point, being in that kind of environment?
It was come here. It was the players. The players know what I come here. When you play in Greece, yeah, I've seen a lot worse things happen in Greece than I did at Notts County. Trust me, verbal abuse is not bad to me. Like at Notts County or any club or whatever club you go to, but in Greece, when you're getting things thrown at you and bangers thrown at you and everything, like, you know what I mean, it's a different way of life out there. But when you're playing in England, people just shouting things at you, I just laugh at it. But Jimmy, when he came in, I did feel really, really sorry for him. I felt sorry for the man. Like, he was getting abused everywhere. I think I had a wee go at a few Notts County fans because they were abusing him that much. They were even getting over the fence, and I had to say, lads, come on, he's a man. Don't forget, he's a man as well. I know he's at Nottingham Forest, like, but he's at Notts County now. Here, he wants to give everything to the club, but he didn't last long, and it's sad to see. It's sad to see. I do understand Notts County fans when you're losing the Sanga, because I'm a fan. I'm a Northern Ireland fan, and I support my country, and I hate seeing Northern Ireland lose. But you have to be careful sometimes, because managers and footballers are human people as well.
So the 2 years came to an end at that season. Had you then felt it was time? You'd done your time at Notts. Clear, you know, in terms of on the pitch, after Shaun, it kind of dipped, didn't it? It dipped. You look back on your time at Notts. Would there be any particular highlights or special games for you?
Highlights, special games. Come here. Every game was special for me, even the ones I lost, because I was playing football. As I said to you before, I hate losing, but I was still playing football. And when I was 14, 15 years old, I wanted to be a professional football player in England, and I still got that opportunity to play for Notts County, the biggest clubs in England as well. It was a pleasure. I really enjoyed it. But the only downfall at Notts County was getting them relegated for me personally. I was really upset. It took me a long time to recover from that. And losing the manager like Shaun Derry, it was very difficult to take on the chin. And I think we were rolling backwards instead of going up the hill. We were rolling backwards once we got rid of Shaun. But probably many people out there not kind of probably think, oh, Shaun should have went anyhow. But for me, from the inside, looking inside, you could see things working, and I think he had players working together. As I said before, it's football. You move on in football, but for me, I think you need a manager at Notts County who can stay there for 3 or 4 years and settle the boat and get that club back in the league where it belongs. And there's no point saying where it belongs if you don't have the people behind to push them up there.
Yeah, again, absolutely spot on. You mentioned about enjoying playing. So at the age of 43, you're still doing it with Dungannon, and that give you as much a buzz now as it did playing in goal 25 years ago?
Oh, definitely. Things have been very difficult over here, the pandemic, and came out of retirement. I was out for the game for 2 years. I ruptured my ACL playing for Linfield, and that stopped me from playing, and it opened a goalkeeping school over here in Northern Ireland. I was keeping busy, and then suddenly everything closed down over here, coaching everything. Only football that was being played was the Irish League. So I said, what the hell can I do? And I says, all right, I'll come back and play football for the Irish League. And I was lucky enough I got the opportunity to play for Dungannon, and I've played a few games, but it's just good to get back out and play and mentally being strong again, because being locked down and staying in the house and it's not getting out as much as you used to. I'm an outdoor person and I like being outside coaching, and I got that was taken away from me with the pandemic, but I'm enjoying every minute. We've only got 3 games left, which is disappointed, but with 3 games to go until the end of the season, and then we see what happens from there. Might call it a day, I might not call it a day, see what happens.
Very good. And of course, your involvement with Northern Ireland international setup, because that's like a little Notts County enclave there. Ian Barrowclough, who we've had on the show, Tommy Johnson. So great to be involved in that on the coaching side now, yeah?
Oh, I came here, it was brilliant. Steve Hopper was the goalkeeping coach for Northern Ireland. He couldn't make it the last campaign there, and we played Italy away. and sitting on the bench, and I'm thinking, geez, this is the life, you know what I mean? Being the goalkeeping coach against the Italians, and came back, played the Americans, then we played Bulgaria. I didn't realize how much work it is, though, Paul. I'm telling you, mate. I came back after 10 days, and I must have slept for 4 days. It was just, we watch. See the coaching videos we watch, like as a player, for 10 or 15 minutes. I didn't realize you're sitting probably the night before for 4 hours going through little clips, cutting down clips to make it into 10 or 15 minutes, and meetings and stuff like that. There, it was like it's tough work. Well done to all the coaches I've worked with. It's hard work, I'm telling you.
Enjoying it though?
Oh, brilliant. I've gone back now with the 19s because Steve Harper will be coming back again, but I've got that hunger, and hopefully in the future something down the line might happen, and I might get that opportunity again down the line. But I'm here now to coach the young keepers in Northern Ireland with the under 19s and under 17s, and hopefully I'm going to America, do a few little coaching sessions in America as well with the company I work with, Glove Glue. Hopefully go over to America and do a bit of coaching sessions over there with the American keepers, and travel the world and watch keepers all over the world and see what I can pick up from them and become a goalkeeping coach.
Yeah, well, any help you need in America with MLS, let me know, because Major League Soccer are one of my clients. I handle all of the PR for the league back over into the UK. So just shout after this is finished, and anything you need, I'll gladly help you on that one.
I'll tell you what, Paul. I went over to America there in Baltimore there a couple of Januaries ago. Hey, in the soccer conference in
big
America.
Soccer convention, thousands of people in this huge hall.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So it's amazing what you can see out there, and the technology, what they're bringing in and what they're bringing out. It's frightening what football is turning into. And I think it's going to help players in the long term, the way things are going to go, and help them. I think the fitness is the main thing now. I think the agile work and agility work they do in training now. It's not when my day when I was like going in the gym pumping weights and 6'3", 20 stone, trying to build muscle. But now it's being more agile and playing ball with your feet. But it's amazing when you go to America, you see different things. And when we played the Americans with Northern Ireland, I noticed what the Americans all about. They are athletes before they become the sports person.
Yes, it's very true. Yeah. Would you have been a teammate of Jaap Stam at United? Would your paths have crossed or not?
Yes, I was, but then before he wrote his book, the book came out, and I think he was let go after 3 weeks. So he was.
Because he's head coach at Cincinnati now in the MLS.
Is he? Yeah. I was down there. I was doing a coaching session down there. Actually, it was a lovely little place, nice place. Yeah. I was in Detroit and went down there. Then we drove the whole way over to Baltimore, which was 13.5 hours drive.
That's a piece of cake compared to driving back from Greece with 4 dogs, a hamster, and a snake, isn't it?
Yeah, and you should have seen the car. I was like that there.
One final point, and then we'll let you go. And it's been brilliant talking to you. I want your take on what's kind of certainly lower divisions at the minute. Seems to be more of a modern phenomenon. So we're allowed, I'm looking at my son, 5 subs in the National League. Yeah. And the Notts' previous manager, Neil Ardley, and it's been followed, I think, by the current manager, Ian Birchnell, not naming a goalkeeper on the bench. Although you've got 5 subs, the view is that if you use a goalkeeper, it's hardly ever needed. Yeah. And if you have 5 outfield players, this gives you more creative options. Of course, we know what happens. Notts this year had Sam Slocum sent off after 20 minutes. We didn't have a goalkeeper on the bench. Michael Doyle went in, and as luck would have it, he had a blinder. We won 3-0. And as recently as 2 days ago, before we recorded this, we were at Maidenhead. I remember Notts County playing a team in black and white stripes called the Magpies. It was Newcastle United, right? It's now Maidenhead away. And same thing. They had a goalkeeper, got concussed, had to go off, but no goalkeeper on the 5 subs, so had to put an outfield player. Now, I'm only a layman, I'm the amateur. I wonder sometimes. I value your opinion, professional opinion on it as a goalkeeper, and B, for the development of other goalkeepers within the club. Because if you're number 2, you might be a young keeper, you might be experienced, but if you know you're never even going to get on the bench for a game, it's kind of. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's a hard one for the manager. You see, I know what the manager's trying to think, like, 5 subs, but lucky enough you get. Is it in League 1, League 2? You have 7. Is it 7?
Yeah.
Is that in the top?
I think it's more in League. Yeah, I'm not so au fait with League 1 and 2 since we dropped out of it. But anyway, yeah.
No, but anyhow, yeah, I do understand where managers come from, because when we only had 5 subs, I think it happened quite a bit in a lot of teams. They rather put outfield players on. So for me personally, as a goalkeeping coach, I'd rather have a goalkeeper on the bench, because it does happen. It could happen. A goalkeeper could get sent off, or he could get injured. But I do understand where managers come from. So that's when the goalkeeping coach and the management staff has to speak together and see what the best solutions they come out and do it like. Because I remember I got sent off my first year at Dungannon, and the centre half went in, and he was better. He did a lot better than I did, like, and he kept a clean sheet. Actually, it was 2-2. Actually, it ended up with 9 men we had. But I just think, for me as a goalkeeping coach, I would always have a goalkeeper on the bench, and that's at least you have 5 on the bench. Remember back in the day, you only had 3 on the bench, and remember even later, you probably had no subs.
Yeah.
It's just football. Managers just have things in the head. Like, I watch the top flight football now, and as a goalkeeping coach, I watch so much around the area. Corner kicks, they don't even have anybody on the post anymore, and I see that's why personally I don't think goalkeepers come for crosses anymore, because they're too scared in case they don't catch the ball, because there's nobody protecting the line. But hey, there's always some science behind it. There's always science behind it why they don't put people in the post.
Would you put people on the post?
Yeah, I would put a guy not on the front post, but I put him standing off the front post. If it's an outswinger, I put him on the 6-yard box, and I put a guy in the back post, because every time the ball comes in, goalkeeper's always going to go forward, and most goals always go to the back post, flick on to the back post, and there's no one on the back post, and it's a goal.
A little bit of technical. And Andy Cole was always brilliant for goal line clearances, wasn't he, with Chelsea in England? Because he would normally he would always take a post, if I remember. He'd always take a number of goal line clearances he used to make.
I love to know the stats, how many goals went in the Premier League this year without players on the post from corner kicks, and how many people has been offside from it, because I think that's why they don't put anybody on the post, because they're trying to play offsides.
Yeah.
It's a weird one.
Yeah, it's a bit of technical stuff. Roy, we've taken far too much of your time. It's been brilliant chatting with you. Great to take a trip down memory lane. Had no idea about the Notts County links, the family links on your dad's side. That's a brilliant story. Love the car coming back from Greece as well, and love the insight and the honesty and the humility that you've shown in this conversation. So thank you very, very much indeed. I'm sure on behalf of all Notts County fans, we thank you for your performances for us, your energy, your passion for the club, and I think 99.99% of all Notts fans couldn't quite believe that we had you in goal for 2 seasons. Without a doubt, best keeper in both of those divisions when we had you. Sorry it couldn't quite work out in terms of a bit more success on the pitch. Like you, I think if we kept Shaun, I think the club's more recent history would have been very, very different. But thank you ever so much indeed. We wish you all the very best with Dungannon in the final 3 games of the season. Please give all our best to Ian Barraclough and to Tommy Johnson. Tell Barra you were much more entertaining in the podcast than he was.
No, I was saying not. I'm trying to get.
Not a good career move. Not a good career move. But no, great people. Thank you very much indeed.
Paul, thank you very much. Can I say I wish all the Notts County fans all the best, and stay safe and take care of you all. Hopefully, see you someday in the future. Okay, mate. See you all soon.